Part two, Greek theater mini lecture. The sun is starting to come out and shine on me. Um, and so I apologize for my squinting. Uh, the main playwrights who wrote plays to be entered in these contests at the City Dionysia and the other contests in ancient Greece that are so influential in our theater today were three writers of tragedies: Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. We also have the most famous writer of comedies, which were a whole different set of competitions, Aristophanes. These playwrights are the ones who wrote the plays that were most influential on the Romans, whose empire was over such a huge part of the world and were so influential on the future of European history, and us today. Aeschylus is the first playwright who we really have plays from. Um, we think he was the first kind of writer of plays that look like plays to us, or at least one of the first one. He added a second actor. Before Aeschylus, the theatrical performances were still much more like rituals, with one person stepping forward and saying words, along with the chanting and ritualistic um, singing and performing. Adding the second actor meant that two people could have dialogue. They could talk to one another, and that is a huge step forward in theater. Um, Sophocles, writer of Oedipus and Antigone, a play you'll be watching, um, added the third actor, was in competition with Aeschylus. They both won many of the competitions. Um, Aristotle, when he wrote his famous, Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, wrote a treatise called Poetics about a variety of things, but about theater, the thing that we have that tells us a lot of information about Greek theater. And he used Sophocles' play um, Oedipus as his model for that. It's kind of the model for Greek tragedy and clearly the most famous play of this period. Um, and then Euripides was the most, we kind of think of him as the most modern playwright, I guess. Really interesting plays. Medea, fascinating play. A variety of fascinating plays that have sort of more, oh, um, recognizable to us problem plays, less kind of mythic and iconic and more human and controversial. Aristotle, as I said before, was the guy who wrote the Poetics, who talks about these things. He said that there were six elements of drama that I like to think about even now and how these things have changed: plot, which is the story; character, which are the characters, the people in the story of the play; thought or theme, which is kind of the idea, the meaning, the thing behind the story and the characters being told; language or dialogue, which are the words and the things that are spoken; music and song, which was number five, which was presented in every Greek play. They were all kind of sung and chanted as much as they were voiced; and then spectacle, which is the scenery, the costumes, the lighting, the not lighting in Greek times, obviously, they were outside, but in our contemporary theater and movies and TV. Special effects would be the case. And we can use these to analyze contemporary movies and theater, and I use those all the time, straight directly from um, Aristotle. An important element as you begin to look at Greek plays and watch them is that they had choruses, which were a group of people who commented on the play that was happening when the two or three characters were actually out there enacting their roles. The chorus represented some group of people, the community. They provide background information about what is going on by speaking or singing to the audience. They comment on the action. They represent society in fundamental ways. Um, and they kind of stand in for the audience, might be another way to think about it. They are watching the play along with the audience and make for an extremely valuable um, uh, commentary. There are so many Greek plays and Greek um, performances of Greek plays. And yet it's kind of a hard thing to wrap your arms around if you only watch one. So I'm going to have you watch a performance of Antigone by the National Theatre. It's a modern dress production, which means they are not in masks, they are not in kind of big robes and Greek costumes. They're attempting to make the play as relatable as possible. But I'm also going to have you watch some more traditional performances just to kind of get a feel for it. Remember, it was always outside, it was always musical, it was always religious, and it was very different than even a contemporary performance today, which is naturally, of course, going to be in English and is going to try to tell the story to the audience in a way that we can't quite imagine in such an all-encompassing kind of religious slash theatrical slash civic performance. Um, there is so much to read about Greek theater if you get interested in it. There is so much I haven't even begun to touch on. Um, there's lots of stuff to be watched and thought about, and I definitely recommend further study. Awesome. Talk to you soon.